Okay, we're in chapter 2 of our Megillah. Let's do a quick 60-second recap of where we are. The seat's over here if you want. Rach, come sit over here. Now you get a seat, not on the floor. It's a big day for you. I know, Baruch Hashem. Okay, we had a party. At the party, we know that Achashverosh and Vashti. By the way, someone asked me Vashti's name. We're going to talk about names today. It's actually a Persian name, although she was Babylonian. But Vashti is a Persian one, meaning very, very beautiful, which she was, by the way. But her name does not have any significance for our purposes for this course. The rest of the names we'll look at today do have great significance. She has a rebellion. She comes from royal blood. She comes from Nebuchadnezzar, her grandfather. And she rebels against Achashverosh. He takes advice. Memuchan, also known as Haman. We're going to visit him today as well. Tells him to kill her. He does kill her, although the Megillah does not tell us that he kills. It just seems like she goes away. However, the Midrash tells us she dies. It didn't write in the Megillah when Mordechai and Esther wrote it because they didn't want to upset Achashverosh, because he did, although he did kidnap her and marry her against her will, he did, however, love her very, very much. She despised him, despised his taking over. In what was the reason that she, from Shemayim, was allowed to die? What has she done? So she did two things. Two things that Vashti did. I would write these down. One we mentioned. She was a very cruel person to the Jewish women. She used to strip them and beat them and make them work on Shabbat, which is why she died on the seventh day. That was Shabbat. Okay? That's number one. We mentioned that already. Number two, second reason she deserved to die in such a hideous and public and humiliating fashion was because Cyrus, the first king of Persia, allowed the Jewish people to rebuild the second temple, which they started to prepare for, and to move back to Israel. Achashverosh takes over from Cyrus as a king. Cyrus was the first king, Achashverosh is the second. He takes over. She turns around, Vashti turns around and says, you know what? My ancestor Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, and you're now allowing them to rebuild that temple? No way. No way. She persuaded Achashverosh not to allow the Jewish people to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. Just so you know, when you keep Jews out of our homeland, and you keep Jews out of Yerushalayim from doing our mission in this world, you have forfeited your right to life, according to Hashem. Don't take my word for it. She dies because of it. You don't mess with the Jewish people and our connection to Eretz Yisrael. That's a lesson. We're going to revisit that idea later on when Esther is going to try to persuade Achashverosh unsuccessfully and then successfully to allow Jerusalem to become the capital of the Jewish people once again. Okay, that's coming. So that's where we are right now. Vashti's dead. He is now a single guy knocking around town. Is it okay for a king to be single? No, right? He needs to have his wife, or in this case, many wives. He does have many women in his harem, right? In his collective stable, but he doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have a wife to represent him in the kingdom. And he's going to be very, very, it's going to take him time. Again, we read the Megillah in half an hour or something, but it's like a 17 to 20 year period we're seeing over here. It's going to take about 2 years for him to select his next appointed wife. Yeah?
What did you say about when you don't let the Jewish people...
When you come in between the Jewish people and Eretz Yisrael, bad things happen to you. This is one of the proof stories, because that is exactly what Vashti did. Successfully, by the way. Achashverosh stopped the rebuilding of the second Beit HaMikdash. He stopped it. It was like on its way. Right? The Jewish people were trying to, get back and fix it all up. Okay, let's look at the first word, achar. What does the word achar mean? Later. How else can you say later in Hebrew? acharei. What's the difference between achar and acharei? By the way, whatever the difference is, which I'm going to tell you, it's going to apply every time you see the word achar or acharei anywhere in the Torah or in Tanakh. Achar means right afterwards. Right afterwards, says Rashi. Acharei means a little while later. A little while later. Muflag. It's separated. The two events which have the word acharei in between are distant events. This is not the case over here. Achar means right away. So he sends out these messengers, right, to control the women in the 127 provinces. Vashti's dead. This event now happens right away. Right away, he calms himself down. Achashverosh calms down because he was really angry. Remember with Vashti? She's now dead. He's calm. But he remembers Zachar et Vashti. Zachar. Zachar. Zachar means he remembered how much he loved her. And he felt a big void. He was really upset. He became almost depressed over her death, although he did it. But too late. When they chop someone's head off, as they say in English, no backsies. Right? She is done. She gone. He's a bachelor again. He's back on Soyo at Sinai or, YU Connects. Yeah.
So you said that Achar is right after.
Right after.
Achar is a little while later.
Yes.
But in the text it says Achar, and then the translation is sometime afterward, which sounds like.
So that's not a good translation. Achar is right away.
Okay.
It's right away. Sometime means right away it's going to happen. He remembers, and he remembers what he did to her. Okay? And so they all said, look, you're depressed, right? How are we going to cheer you up, Mr. Achashverosh? It's time to get back on the dating scene, and time to, although, nowadays dating makes you depressed, but in those days, dating was a mechanism to cheer him up. And they decide to gather up, and I'm using that word specifically, Hikabetz, to gather together many, many women. Many, many women. Now, when I was a kid, and I used to learn Megillat Esther, I was always obsessed with this book, by the way, out of Tanakh. This was even as a kid, I was obsessed with this story. I was told as a 11-year-old child in school that he held a beauty pageant. You heard this, like a Miss World or something. And he would line them all up. Remember that? Did you learn like this? And he would line up, and then my rabbi of blessed memory, right, with a long white beard, and he made a beauty pageant, and he would line up all these women, and I would picture in my mind, there's Achashverosh sitting on his throne, and all these women would present themselves. And this is what my rabbi told me at the time, and I believed it for a little while. He would say, it's going to sound weird, but this is an 11-year-old yeshiva boy, and a very Haredi yeshiva. This one's toe is too big, and this one's toe is too small. That's how he would decide which one to marry. That's not what happened. Let me be very clear with you. When I discovered, by learning the Meforshim, the commentators, about what really happened, it changed the story dramatically. And you can't help not look at Achashverosh with a very negative eye. What he's about to do is to take thousands of officials, send them around all the provinces. Some say they literally found any beautiful woman, grabbed them off the streets. By the way, you should know that many women volunteered for the opportunity of being married. Because in those days, being married to someone like Achashverosh was winning the lottery. You know what I'm saying? They were willing to debase themselves. And I mean debase themselves. But there were many who were not. And they were taken off the streets. They were taken, we're going to see, to a special location where they had to live for 1 year with oils put on their bodies and perfumes, and then they were raped. That is what happened to a vast amount of women. Again, many of them against their will, and many of them were willing to give themselves up. And by the way, once they were violated by Achashverosh, what happened to them?
They were killed.
Did they go home, back to their mommy and daddy? No, you can't do that, because they'll be like, yeah, last night I was with the king, but tonight I'm married to, Mustafa, whoever it was in those days, right? And now I'm married to you. No. They were kept for the rest of their lives, probably kept quite well, but they couldn't marry anyone else. They remained his property. Literally, women in those days were the property of the king, whoever that person was. Are you all beginning to hate Achashverosh more? Or are you still part of the Achashverosh fan club? Okay? L.
So basically, they would hold this beauty pageant, but
It wasn't a beauty pageant. It wasn't.
Basically, a place where they would put all of these women.
Yes.
They'd have them for over a year.
Yes. You're going to see it inside. It's not mine. That's actually in the Megillah. For 1 year, they put on tamru kehen, right? They put on spices on their body to see if they're beautiful. By the way, they say why the entire year? He wanted to see if a woman was beautiful throughout the 4 seasons. Because someone would look better in summer, right? Like me. And somebody would look better in winter, not like me. So everyone looks better. So he wanted to make sure that she was beautiful through all 4 seasons. It's like, what's that store, right? That they employ like blonde men and women in the summer and brunettes in the winter. Abercrombie, that's right. And they sued, right? The blondes sued in the winter and the brunettes sued in the summer, right? It's that shallow and debasing. That's what we're dealing with. Okay, and he gathers them all together to find someone who's going to be. And look at verse 4, chapter 2, verse 4. Vahanara, and the young woman, Ashetitav b'nei Hamelech, who's going to be beautiful, Timloch, is going to rule. So he's choosing a queen, Tachat Vashti. What does Tachat Vashti mean? So Tachat literally means instead of. Zeh Tachat Zeh. So he's looking for a replacement. He's not just looking for a bunch of women to have a good time with. He's looking for someone to represent, a female to represent his kingdom. But Tachat also means below, underneath. Not the same level. Why? Because Vashti was a high level. She was like, oh, from Nebuchadnezzar. He doesn't want to fall into that trap again. He does not want to have a woman who's going to be like, I'm the queen, you're nothing, I'm throwing my own party. So whoever this person is going to be, and Esther, by the way, I don't ruin the story, is going to be selected, right? Although it's against her will, as I'll show you in a second. She made sure to keep her mouth shut because Esther, well, did Esther come from royal lineage or not?
Like, yeah.
Did Esther come from royal lineage? Well, who's her ancestor?
God. Am I right?
King David.
Not King David. Wrong tribe, but you're getting close. King Saul. As I'm going to prove to you in a second, she did come from royal lineage, which is one reason she wasn't allowed to reveal who she was. Because if he found out she came from royal lineage, he'd go, here we go again. I got to deal with Vashti and Nebuchadnezzar, and now I'm dealing with this Esther and King Saul. God bless you. Yes?
2 questions. One, did what happened to all the other women also happen to Esther?
We're going to show you in a second. We're not there yet. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen to Esther.
And then also, did Esther also come from Rachel?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Does the Megillah, I guess, ever give a number of how many girls physically were?
We're not told. Some say it was that. Some say they went around, they chose one from each province. From 120, there are actually 127 women he got to choose from. That's another opinion, which is probably what happened. Otherwise, he's busy. By the way, he was very busy. As we're going to see, Bigtan and Teresh became very upset with how busy they were because they were in charge of bringing and removing liquids. I'm going to tell you why they're in a second. We're not there yet. We're going to get there. Okay, so now he's going to find someone, Tachat Vashti. Remember, the Megillah is hidden. There's a lot of code words here. Nothing, very little is said explicitly because remember, it's not a story of Geula redemption. It's a study of survival. We survived physically from Achashverosh and Haman. So a lot has to be encoded inside. Okay? So he likes the idea, and they send out these people to bring him all of these women for him to bring the person who's going to be Tachat Vashti instead of Vashti, and Tachat Vashti below Vashti, not anyone of royal quality. Okay, we're about to meet our hero and heroine, and for this we're going to have to talk about names. So I need you to listen very carefully and write this down. Ish Yehudi. There was a Yehudi. Yehudi. What does Yehudi mean? Jew. Now that's how we understand it. But it wasn't always that. The word Yehudi actually comes from the word Yehuda and Hodu. Right? Yehuda got the name because his mother was very, very grateful to Hashem, Hodu la Hashem, right, that she was able to have this child, Yehuda. But the word is actually Yehuda, which means from the tribe of Yehuda. So whoever had the name Yehudi, right, meant they came from the tribe of Yehuda. But we know that Mordechai did not come from the tribe of Yehuda. He came from the tribe of Binyamin. Binyamin, just like his cousin, we're going to meet in a second, Esther. So this is the first time in world history, for sure, that the Jewish people, not from the tribe of Yehuda, from any other tribe, are called Yehudi, the Jewish people. It starts here. It starts here. This term used to be just for the people from the tribe of Yehuda, and now we see that it started to spread. The entire Jewish people are called Yehuda, or Yehudim in the plural, or as we call them, Jews. The word Jews doesn't mean anything. The word Yehudim does. So this is the first time we as a collective are now being called Yehuda. The people who, what does the word Yehuda mean? Number one, we are Moda, we admit there's a God, right? That becomes a universal idea. Hoda, we give thanks to God. We are Yehudim, but we give thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what we do. Plus, we're going to see that the kingship moved to Yehuda from Binyamin to Yehuda, from King Saul to King David and all of King David's descendants that we're going to talk about in a minute. So now we're going to see that we're all really part of the kingdom of Yehuda, because King David is our king. So we're all from Yehuda. Are we together? Are you following this very well? Okay? So there was a transfer in power from the tribe of Binyamin to the tribe of Yehuda, that every Jewish king must come from Shevet Yehuda. That's the idea of Yehudi. Okay, and that's why, although he comes from the tribe of Binyamin, he's called Yehuda. Yeah.
How come we're allowed to say Yehuda if it has God's name in it?
Where does it have God's name in it?
Not Yehudi, but doesn't it have a
Yeah, it does. You can say it. You can say it. As a name, you can say it. You're not saying Yud K. Yud with a Hey in it is part of Hashem's name, yeah.
No, but also, like, if you're saying Yehuda, then it's...
Yud K, Vav K is found inside it. That's right.
That's okay?
That's okay.
But it's like somebody's named as if they're God.
The dollar changes everything.
Okay.
Good point, though. It does have Hashem's name in it. There are many names like that. I mean, you see some people, actually, who will say Hebrew names, right? And they'll say, Elisheva. We don't say Kelisheva. Eliyahu. We don't say Kelikaku. You know what I'm saying? We're not... Kelisheva and Kelikaku, right? We don't say that. Okay. Yeah.
Which tribe did Saul come from?
Saul came from Binyamin. That's a very important point. I'm going to get to it. Hold on. King Saul came from Binyamin. That means that King Saul's great-great-great-great-great-grandson was Mordechai, and his great-great-great-great-granddaughter was Esther, because Esther and Mordechai were cousins that came from the same family. Okay? And that's going to be one of the reasons that Mordechai was the one who has to fight Haman. It's connected. It was for a very specific reason. It's an ancient battle that is still happening and is going to keep happening. Yeah.
Two quick questions. One, what were the Jews collectively known as before this?
Oh, they were known as Bnei Israel, or they were named by their tribes. They were not known as Yehudim. Not known as Yehudim. Yeah.
Could you explain the whole Yehudi thing again? I just got a little lost.
Okay. The Jewish people are nowadays called Jews from Yehuda. This is the first time we see it. Okay? How do we know that this is important? Because Mordechai was not a Yehuda, he was a Binyami. As we're going to see, he was Ish Yemeni, came from the tribe of Binyamin. However, he's called Yehuda. Okay? And now all the Jewish people are referred to as Yehuda, although they're not from the tribe of Yehuda, right? For a number of reasons. One, we believe in Hashem, Hodu Hashem Kitov, right? And kingship was now in the hands of Yehuda. So we're all part of that kingdom. We're all part of that kingdom. And that had to be known. El, are we good? Are we cool, me and you? Yeah.
You just said that King Saul is from the tribe of Binyamin.
Yes.
I thought that like the kings and the leaders come from Yehuda.
They do come from Yehuda. And that's when, it comes in this story. Saul was told to kill Agag. We're going to meet him later. The king of Amalek. He doesn't do it. Agag's descendant is Haman. Saul's descendants is Mordechai. That's the battle that's keeping to go on. Mordechai is avenging his great-great-great-grandfather's loss of kingship. Because when Saul did not kill the king of Amalek, Agag, that kingship moved to King David, and it wasn't just Saul who lost his kingship for doing it, as the prophet told him, his entire tribe was now left aside. And it moved from Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, to the tribe of Judah, where King David was from.
A king doesn't have to come from you.
Now he does. Once King David got it, until Biat HaMashiach, Mashiach is Mashiach ben David from the tribe of Yehudah. He's going to have to, in order to be Mashiach, he's going to have to prove that he is a direct descendant of King David. Very important. Very, very important. Okay. Ish Yehudi. So there's this Jew. Right? Now we're going to call him a Jew. Ish Yehudi hayab Shushan Habira. What's Shushan Habira? The capital of the capital. Shushan is the capital. Shushan Habira is the capital within the capital. Okay? What's he doing there? How did he get there? I thought it was only for very important people. What's he doing in Shushan Habira? He was a very important person. He wasn't just some regular guy. He was part of the Sanhedrin, and when he came, he was appointed as a leader of the Jewish people to advocate for the Jewish people in the kingdom, so he had access. He had access to Shushan Habira. Shushan is where the Jews were. Habira, we said, was surrounded by a moat, by water, and it was the capital, and that's where he was allowed to be. Ushmo, and his name was Mordechai. Danai. Yes. Certain representatives have power to go into the Congress, into Parliament, into the center of power. Now, Ushmo, Mordechai. Let's do names. We have a lot to say about names play a major role in this story and in Jewish history. Whenever it says shame somebody, the name was, you know you're dealing, it's a code word throughout the Torah for a tzaddik, a righteous person. Ushmo Mordechai. Okay? Ushmo Boaz. Ushmo Yishai. Ushmo Mordechai. Whenever it says the name shame, and then the name, the word Shem means name, right? It says that his name was, you're dealing with a very important person. As we say in English, his name preceded him. So we know we're dealing with a very important, good person. By the way, we never say the other way around. Whenever we put the name first and then the name, it says shame. For example, Naval Shemo, there's a bad person called Naval, was his name. Goliath, Shemo was his name. You're dealing with a bad person. So you want to have name and then person. That's always going to happen. So you know already if you're dealing with a righteous person or a bad person by where the word Shem comes from. Why? Why? Okay. So you have to look at this word over here. This is, look up here, neshama. Neshama means a soul. The middle letters are shem, which means name, because your name represents your soul mission. This isn't just for these people, it's for all of us. Your name that you were given at birth or when you convert, that name isn't just a handle that is used so they can call you, right? Hey, Shirley, get me a coffee. It describes your essence in the form of your neshama. That's why you give a bracha. You always use the name of the person. The name describes your mission. Avraham, Haman. Sarai becomes Sarah. She's the leader. She's a princess, right? Noach, he brought comfort after the flood. Everyone's name in the Torah always represents their mission. It's going to be doubly true in Megillat Esther. Okay? So, neshama, Shem, Mordechai means he had the soul of Mordechai. So what does the word Mordechai mean? So the Gemara and the Meforshim say, I tell you, Mordechai actually is made up of two words, mordro, which means a sweet spice of myrrh. Myrrh, right? I love this one. The only vowel is the Y, like in fly. Right? It was a sweet spice. But how do you get the wonderful smell? He brought a great smell of goodness to the world and to the Jewish people. He's going to help us survive. You have to crush the spice to get the smell out. This means that his mission as Mordecai was not an easy one. He and Esther, I know you look at Esther, she's rich and famous in the palace. Her life was miserable. Miserable. She's hidden away, right? Kidnapped against her will, we're going to see. And he's being crushed. Crushed. Because according to one opinion, he was married to Esther, his cousin, which probably is true. She's kidnapped against her will, I'm going to show you. So he's crushed. But through the crushing and challenge comes the great smell of redemption for the Jewish people. This, by the way, I want to just I'm going to say something to you that's going to make no sense, but I'm going to try to revisit later. One of the proofs that Mashiach is that he has an amazing sense of smell. It's based upon a verse in Isaiah the prophet, chapter 11, I believe, where one of the great prophetic abilities of Mashiach is going to be he has the ability to smell greatness and other things. I know that makes no sense to you because you haven't taken my Mashiach course yet, which we spent a half class talking about, but take it now that smell always represents greatness. I mean, the root of this is because in the Garden of Eden, they sinned with all five senses, all four of five senses. They heard God speak, they tasted the fruit, they touched it, they saw it, but they never smelled it. So smell always represents spiritual purity. That's why the word for smell is reach, and the word for spirituality is ruchniut. It's the same word, or it's related. So that's Mordechai. More dror, a sweet spice that you have to crush in order to get the news out, the goodness out of, which he did. Ben Yair, one of his ancestors was Yair. Why do I care? So the Gemara says we don't care. But Yair means to bring light. He brought light to the Jewish people. Ben Shimi, a descendant of this person called Shimi, from the word Shema. God listens to his prayers. Ben Kish, a descendant of Kish. Kish means to knock, because he knocked on the gates of heavens with his prayers, which is going to happen later on. That's his mission, and God's going to answer him and allow the Jewish people to survive. So these aren't just names. Ben Yair, he enlightened the Jewish people in the world. Ben Shimi, God Shema, God listened to him. Ben Kish, he knocked. Ish Yemini. Ish always means a good person. Moshe Rabbeinu was called Ish, and so Mordechai is on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu of his day. Yemini, from the tribe of Benjamin. Now once you see Benjamin, you're like, oh, he's a descendant of King Saul. He's coming from royal blood as well. This is the story of battling royals. This is a royal battle, as they say. Good? So that's Mordechai, and that's where his name comes from. I want to jump to other names, which we may have jumped over. Okay? Mordechai. Haman, we're going to meet soon as well. I'm going to mention his name now so we can put it all together. Haman, as a name, is also found in the Torah. Where is this name found in the Torah? Haman. That's man. I want Haman. His name is Haman. Well, how could Haman be in the Torah? This story happened hundreds of years later. Yeah?
Quick question for the last part.
Yeah.
You said that all kingship comes from Yehuda, right?
Yes.
So then how come Mordecai, if he descended from King Saul, but Saul is from Benjamin?
Yes, because once Saul did not kill Amalek and wipe them out, the kingship was taken from him and his tribe and taken to Yehuda. So we told Rachel before. So now kingship from the times of King David till Mashiach ben David, means he must come from the tribe of Yehuda.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Haman the snake in Parshat 30?
How'd you know that? Rachel, how would you even know such a thing?
I listened to it and I read my Waller.
Very good. Okay, alav shalom. Very good. So if you go back to the Garden of Eden, there's a snake. Is that snake good or bad? Bad. It makes the Adam and Chava sin and leave. And he turns around and he says, wow, look at this lovely, delicious tree that God told you not to eat from. What's the tree referred to as? Hamina Etz, this tree. He represents the primordial evil that exists in this world. He represents the ultimate bad. Evil was created when they ate from that tree, And Haman, we're going to see, comes from the nation of Amalek. More about them later. Represents pure evil. I'll give you one other reason. There's many answers to this, but I'll give you another reason why Haman appears in Gan Eden in the guise of the snake, right? Coercing the Jewish people to do bad. I'll tell you something about Haman. Haman had everything. He's going to be extremely rich. He's going to be, in a few moments, very, very, very powerful, right? He's second in command to Achashverosh. He has all the money, all the power. And yet, none of it means anything to him, because one Jew, Mordechai, will not bow down to him. Same thing with Adam and Eve. They can eat whatever they want. Every tree, every goodness in the world is theirs, but one tree they can't have, I've got to have it. It's the same disease. Adam and Chava, if you will, suffer from the same disease that Haman did. You can have everything, but not be happy because you don't have the one thing you can't have. It's deep, this idea, but it's the root of it. The root of you can have everything except this one thing. If I can't have this one thing, then I want nothing at all. And it's going to be the downfall of the snake in Gan Eden, and it's the downfall of Haman in the Purim story. Hamin ha'etz. Haman, yeah.
Are you saying then the snake was reincarnated?
No. Well, he was actually. Not in this story, though. Right? When Moshe Rabbeinu went to see Paro, that snake came back. That was the snake he threw down on the floor. Right? That was the serpent, yeah. But no. Not in this story. Not literally. It means the ideology. Amalek represents evil. It epitomizes the ultimate evil in this world. There is no worse evil than Amalek. Worse than the Egyptians who tortured us and hurt us. Right? Worse than the Babylonians, worse than the Persians, worse than the Medians, worse than Hamas, worse than the Nazis. Actually, the Nazis actually do come from Amalek. They share the same trait. As I'll show you when we talk about Amalek, it's a Nazi ideology. They're the most comparative. It is a nation. They've been spread out through the entire world. It's an ideology. It's an ideology. Amalek nowadays is not a nation, it's an ideology. It was one unified nation, now they're spread out. And I'm going to tell you how to identify them later on, because Haman is one of them. Yeah.
It's a little bit bad. We said about Mordechai,
Yeah.
Ben Kish.
Ben Shimi. Shimi from Lashon Shema.
But what is Kish?
Kish means to knock. Like Kish. Nachon? Because he knocked on the heavens, says the Gemara, and Hashem answered him. Okay, so we did Yehudi, we did Mordechai, we did Neshama, we did Haman. Just quickly on Achashverosh, because we skipped over him. Achashverosh, what's this name about? So it's not a name, it's a title. But remember, if that's what he's known as, that becomes his name. So there's two answers to this. By the way, if you want to know a very, very good book where a lot of information I'm getting comes from the Ma'am Loez. The Ma'am Loez is one of the famous commentaries on the Torah. His commentary on Megillat Esther is a classic, and it's translated to English. Actually, Rabbi Kaplan translated it. Ach Barosh. What's an Ach? Brother of a Rosh. He's another brother of another head. He was just like Nebuchadnezzar. He hated the Jews just as much. Ach Barosh. He was a Rosh. He was their brother from another mother, as they say in English, right? Ach. Ach means a brother of a Rosh, of another head. Who was that Nebuchadnezzar? He's just a continuation of the bad people. That's one interpretation. Another is, what does the word Ach mean? What's Ach? Ach. Bleh. He used to give the Jewish people an Ach Barosh, a headache. He kept changing his decrees. One minute he's our friend. He drove us nuts. He gave us a headache. He's missed a headache. That's Ach Barosh. How cute is that? Imagine even the Jews back then were like, ugh, I can't deal with this leader. You know?
Is that literal?
No, it's not literal. It's not literal. It's a play on the word. It's a play on the word. Okay?
What was that?
Ach Barosh, the brother of another head, right? He's just like his predecessors, right? Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar.
And what, can you repeat the second one again?
And Ach Barosh, he gave him an Ach in the head. Ach means he just drove us crazy. He just gave us a headache. Right? That's the other one. Okay. So Esther, we're going to have to spend a bit more time on, so hold your horses. Which Mordechai is this? He was one of the great leaders who went into Galut. Remember, the Jewish people had been kicked out of Eretz Yisrael in Jerusalem. He was part of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was located in Jerusalem, so he's living in Jerusalem. Ashagla Yerushalayim, that's what it says. Look at verse 6. Imagola, right? At the time of the king of Yehuda, so he's been kicked out. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar, king of Bavel, kicked him out. So he's part of that original. So he's coming. He wasn't born over here. He's coming from Eretz Yisrael, from Yerushalayim. Vayehi. What does Vayehi mean? Good or bad? Bad. 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 What's bad? Vayehi. Omen et Hadassah. He was the person who took in someone called Hadassah. Where's Hadassah? I wrote it down here somewhere. Okay, fine. Omen Hadassah. Now, let's break down these two words. First of all, what does the word Omen mean? Omen. So it means, actually, in this case, to rear. He adopted her, right? She was an orphan. We said one of the reasons she was so successful in her mission was that her parents died, so she didn't have to deal with all the mitzvot of kibbud av va'em, which act as a problem for many people, stopping them, doing well, because there's so many mitzvot. She's an orphan. She's cousins of Mordechai, their first cousins. He adopted her, and one opinion was that he married her, but we're not told that in the Megillah, because Achashverosh would have read that and be like, well, you were married? You were married to Mordechai? I'm not going to marry you. Even after the story, when they wrote this down, they left out the fact that Mordechai was married to her, so that Achashverosh wouldn't get jealous and one day, shoot Mordechai in the head. We don't want to deal with that. So the fact they were married is not mentioned explicitly. Some say they weren't married. Some just say they were cousins, but some say actually they were married. Yeah.
Was Achashverosh specifically looking for single ladies, or it didn't matter to him?
He wanted a Betula. He wanted a single woman. It says Betula, specifically in the Megillah. He was looking for a virgin. He's looking for single women. So if they were married, that was kept a secret as well. We're dealing with dangerous stuff here, right? Their lives are in danger. By the way, I'm going to prove to you today that, well, not today actually, in the next two classes, that this was a suicide mission. What she's going to do, save the Jewish people, which none of you know, by the way. I don't care how many times you read the story, you don't realize. What she and Mordechai are about to do was the ultimate, so she didn't think for a minute she was going to survive. And if you look at the plan she's going to use to save the Jewish people, it's insane. It's planet mental. Literally crazy. Okay, so Omen Hadassah, he adopts her because she's an orphan and she's part of the family. Your family adopts you. Hadassah, that's her real name. What does the word Hadassah actually mean? Myrtle branch. It's one of the 4 species we take on Sukkot. Or if you're Ashkenazi, Sukkos. Right? One of the 4 species. What is unusual about this particular branch? Does it smell good? Yeah, there's smell again. You could write a whole essay on smell in Megillat Esther. But does it taste good? Can you eat? Can you eat an etrog? Yeah. Can you eat a lulav? Yeah, hearts of palm. You ever had hearts of palm before? Delicious, right? Hearts of palm. So you can smell it, right? But you can't eat it. Oh, by the way, and aravot, by the way, you can't taste or smell. Okay, come to my Sukkot class to discuss what that's about. So now we know that she has this idea. Watch carefully. She is like a Hadass. That's her name. That's her mission. She smells good to some people, but if you mess with her and try to bite her, she's going to destroy you, which she did to Haman. You think I smell good? I'm all nice, fancy? You're dead. Some say that she had by the way, you should know that Esther, this is very important. I'm not saying this to cheapen her in any way, was the most beautiful woman who ever stepped on the face of the earth, says the Midrash. There was no more beautiful. Absolutely stunning woman. By the way, how old was she? How old is she in this story? So I always thought when I was like, I was 15, 16, 20, 21. According to some opinion, she's in her 30s, 40s. And by the way, at the end of the story, she's probably in her 60s. Right? It changes the whole idea of beauty. By the way, who was the most beautiful man in Jewish history? Yosef HaTzadik. Right? The Torah tells us that women used to climb onto walls just to catch a glimpse of him. By the way, what's the Torah telling us this for? Why is that important? Why do you have to say that Yosef was extremely good looking, and Sarah was very, very good looking, and Esther, Sarah's great-great-great-grandmother, was very beautiful? Why is that important? Listen very carefully. This is very important. Why is somebody the Torah is interested in how you look? Because for these people, their mission was dependent upon their good looks. Sometimes your mission is dependent upon how smart you are, how much you know, how much math, right? How emotionally aware you are. If you are Shimshon, it's how powerful you are. That's his mission. Esther's mission was based upon her looks. It wasn't just like a side, oh, she's so beautiful. No. She was successful in her mission because she was beautiful, because everyone loved her. And they wanted her to be part of their nation. So her success came around because she was so beautiful. That's what made it, that was part of her mission in life. Her sole mission was to be beautiful. That's why Achashverosh, one of the reasons he chooses her. She was extremely beautiful. That's why Yosef had to be loved by the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were into beauty. And so his mission was partly, the success of his mission was the fact that he was so beautiful. That's why Potiphar went after, that's why Aisha Potiphar. It's all connected. It's all about beauty. So beauty is not a bad thing. It's there for a purpose. And these people used it for the good of the Jewish people. I suffer with this daily. I'm only kidding. Okay. So that's Hadassah. One last opinion. Some say when she found out she was going to marry Achashverosh, she turned green in fright and remained green the rest of her life. But that's probably not true. The real answer is she had a beautiful olive green complexion. She was a beautiful woman. She had an olive green complexion, just like Hadassim are beautiful and green and smell good. That's who she was.
How could a person have an olive green complexion? Like, you know when you say
You ever had the expression before? Olive green? They have olive green complexion. It's an expression. You have an olive green complexion. Yes. More.
It's like undertone. It means you're dark. It's an idea about you said that
when they do it, those outfits,
because she had no parents.
Yeah. She wouldn't not do mitzvah. She wasn't in trouble for not doing kibbud aveim. Most of us fail because we fail in our mitzvot of kibbud aveim.
Oh, and we said in the first semester that
Yeah.
there is no taste, which means no, like it resembles the mitzvah.
Oh, Torah and Mitzvah. Oh, very good, Mo. Very good. How does that play out over here? Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay, let's talk about the name Esther, because that's her code name for the rest of the Megillah. This is how she's been referred to the rest of the Megillah. Now, I need you to write this down. Esther, what does this word mean? So a number of answers. Number one, it's a code name that everyone loves, because Rashi says it comes to the word Ishtar, star, comes to the word Esther, but she's like Venus. Everyone loved her, right? Just like a star shines bright, everyone loved her, and this name is a Persian name, and it's a Hebrew name, and it translates in many languages so that everyone would feel as though she is theirs. Everyone said, oh, she's a Median, she's a Persian, she's a Babylonian, because she needed to have everyone loving her, right, in order to be successful in her mission. This word appears in the Torah. So the Gemara asks, where is Esther in the Torah? Well, she's not in the Torah because she's not born when the Torah was written. The Torah was written hundreds of years before. And the Gemara says, yes, actually you can find Esther in the Torah. Where? Listen carefully. At the end of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu turns around to the Jewish people and says, before he dies, his final words are in Sefer Devarim, the final 1 month speech of Moshe Rabbeinu. There's going to be a time in Jewish history when you are not going to follow Hashem, and God is going to be upset with you. And what's going to happen? Va'anochi, this is God speaking, and I, haster Aster panai. I'm going to definitely and completely, hastir means to hide. If it's written twice, it's really, really hide. When words are written twice, it means very much so. I'm going to absolutely hide my face. What does it mean, hide my face? God is saying, you're not going to see me. It's going to seem as though I'm not there. You're not going to realize what I'm all about. It's going to seem as though I'm hidden from you. This, say the rabbis, this was a prophecy about the Purim story about Megillat Esther, that Hashem hides himself in the Torah, right, in the Megillah. This is why we said Megillat Esther, Book of Esther, is the only book where God's name is not mentioned, because he's underneath. He's underneath. That's why the miracles over here are hidden miracles. Nes nistar, hidden miracles. That's why the miracles here are not revealed. They are nes nistar, hidden miracles are what this is about. God's name is not mentioned, unlike Hanukkah or Pesach, right? It's all about God here. God, the Haggadah, is full of God's name. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu's name is mentioned once. It's all about Hashem. It's all about revealed miracles. Nes nigla. This is nes nistar. So Esther is part of this plan. This is where she is encoded. Esther, Anochi haster aster panai. I'm sure you're going to hide my face. I'm there, but you're not going to see me. It's going to seem as though I'm not there. At the end of days, before Mashiach comes, we're going to have the same situation. It's going to seem like Hashem is not with us. It's going to be a very difficult, challenging time.
Is that now?
I believe so, yes. Denai.
If Hashem was hidden, like who told Hadassah that her name was changed to Esther? Like who knew that name was?
Oh, Mordechai was a prophet, and he said, from now on, you're Esther. You're Esther. We're going to assume that he or she chose that name knowing that this was going to be them. They chose a code name, but the rabbis are like, it wasn't just on, when you name a child, it's a prophecy. They received prophecy that this was going to be a name. She needed a code name, right, in order to blend in, so they chose this name. But the rabbis are saying, it wasn't just a code name, this represents her mission in life. She went from Hadassah to Esther. That represents her mission as proved in the Torah. Okay? So now he's there. Yes, Me'ira. Oh, your name, Yair, Me'ira, same name.
What's the direct translation of the word Esther?
Hidden.
So
In Hebrew, according to the other nations, it's a star like Venus, star in the sky, a beautiful planet.
Is there anything about her name Hadassah that gives away the fact that she's going to have a name change? Because if it's
Well,
not-
Hadassah is a Jewish name. And they don't want to have a Jewish name, because she can't tell anyone she's Jewish, because if they find out she's Jewish, they're going to kill her. And he wouldn't have chosen her. And if he did choose her, Haman would have found out she's Jewish and would have killed her himself, possibly.
Sorry, meaning like, I think I explained it.
Okay.
Meaning like, you said that someone's name is their mission in life.
Yeah.
So is there something about Hadassah that is a
Yes, absolutely. Very good. I get your name. Yes. Hadassah, she's sweet smelling, right? But she's bitter if you try to bite her. She's going to get you.
Esther is what the
Is an addition to it. Yeah. Is an addition to it. It represents her mission as well. That was her personality. Esther represents her mission. Yeah.
So the people who were like rounding up all these ladies,
Yeah.
they just like did a really, really bad job.
Why?
Because they went to someone's house who not only was married, but also was like,
No. They took versions. She's the only one who was chosen. And they didn't know they had no idea who she was. Just hold that one thought, please. They had no idea. Look what it says. So they start to gather together. Look at verse 8. They start pulling these young women in. El Shishana Bira to Shishana Bira, right? To Achashverosh's harem, the harem. El Yad Haggai. Tilakach Esther. What does tilakach mean? She's taken against her will. Most women actually volunteered for the position. She was found on the street. They saw her. She's in Shushan, by the way, right? So she's locally. And they saw her, and they just grabbed her off the street. No idea who she was. They said, she's so beautiful, we're grabbing her. We're grabbing her. Based purely upon her looks. Seemingly, right? Not like a questionnaire. Wasn't like trying to go on to J-date. So you Orthodox, modern Orthodox, conservative. It wasn't like that. They just grabbed her. That's the way it used to be. El Beit HaMelech, El Yad Haggai, Shomer Nashim. There's a guy called Haggai who is in charge of the women. Okay? And most of these men, by the way, we said were emasculated. They were srisim. They were not able to... Haggai.
was Haggai a eunuch?
Yeah, he's a eunuch. He's a Swiss. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a weird connection, but do you think that the fairy tale of Cinderella was taken by this because the king wants all the women, but they have to
I
fit
think,
in certain shoes?
very good question. I think a lot of stories throughout history, like these fables and stuff, really come from, by the way, Jews are involved in half these, Disney movies, I'm saying, could well be taken from here. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to think more about it. In this case, I speak about it in other situations, but absolutely. Right? Many of the stories and fables we have, right, are over here. It's always like a little child, no parents, right? It's like every Steven Spielberg movie. It's always a little kid for some reason being abused, right, until he finds an alien that rescues him. It's a Jewish story. It's a Jewish story. It's a post-Holocaust Jewish story. Yeah.
How is it that we first being told that they changed her name to Esther and only then she was taken and not the other way around?
Oh, that's interesting, right? I don't think her name was changed yet. It's just telling us this Hadassah is Esther you're going to meet later on. Yeah. So they said, "V'titav benara be'inav." Look, it says, look at verse 9, right? She was beautiful in their eyes. It was like, oh, what a nice personality. What good midos. Like every guy. I'm looking for a girl with good midos. Good midot. Yeah. Do me a favor. Right? She was beautiful. That's it. So they gave her this perfume, right? And they brought her in, and this guy, Haggai, takes care of her, gives her the best perfume, the best oils, and he also gives her, at her request, 7 maids. 7 maids. Not 7 dwarves, but 7 maids. Why 7 maids? So he said that she used to keep Shabbat. So she didn't work Shabbat. So if there was one maid that would say, hey, what's she doing? Why is she acting differently today? Right? Manishtana hayom hazeh. Why is this day different from any other day? So she was on rotation of maids so that you wouldn't know what she was like the other days. So the ones who were in charge of her on Shabbat, right, was that, oh, she's always like this. And the ones who were on Tuesday, oh, she's always like this. You understand? So she had a different maid for every single day, and that enabled her to keep Shabbat. And by the way, the rabbis tell us in the schut of her keeping Shabbat was how and why she was redeemed. And the rabbis say at the end of days, in the schut of Shabbat, Mashiach will come and redeem us. That's why just when Shabbat, well, it'll be free, right? As, who sang that? MBD? I don't remember. Shweki or someone, right? So she had 7 maids, and that's why, so she was able to keep Shabbat, right? And they changed her, and what does she eat? What did Esther eat for the decades she was in the palace of Achashverosh? Yeah. So there are 2 opinions. One opinion was she ate seeds. She ate seeds. Poppy seeds. That's one of the reasons we put hot poppy seeds into the Hamantashen on Purim, to eat it, to remember what she ate. There's another opinion that she didn't. She ate pig. You're allowed to eat non-kosher to save your life. She can't tell anyone she's Jewish, right? And therefore, she ate, the Gemara says, not me, the Gemara says she ate fatty pig every single day in order to survive. Interestingly, we don't eat fake pig on Purim. We eat poppy seeds to say, we don't believe she would do such a thing. It must be she subsisted exclusively, I'm primarily on nuts. Like when you get on a plane and forget your kosher meal, which has happened to me and my wife many times. What do you eat? Give me a bag of nuts. You know what? Bring me 10 bags of nuts. That's what she ate her entire time. Okay? That's what she did. And that's what the word Vishaneh means. He changed. What did he change? Her maids, but also changed the food. Changed the food. And look at verse 10. Nearly finished. I want to get to the end of the chapter. Stick with me. We're going to do this together, my friends. Verse 10. Lo higida Esther et ama. She does not tell who her nation is, and where she was born. Ki Mordechai tziva. He gave her one job. Whatever you do not tell anyone who you are. He's not sure what's going to happen, but the fact that she was taken, right, means he understood that she had a mission, and he realized that if anyone found out she was Jewish, it wouldn't work out well. Keep your mouth shut. By the way, there were many people who probably knew she was Jewish and kept their mouths shut as well and didn't tell That means they didn't speak Lashon Hara. And that's why not speaking Lashon Hara leads to redemption, Geula. Speaking Lashon Hara destroys the Beit HaMikdash and keeps us in Galut. So she did not speak Lashon Hara about herself, and others not about her. Amazing, right? Assuming that everyone knew. Some say that the Jews didn't even know she was Jewish as well. Asher lo tagid, right? Don't tell anyone. Every single day, b'chol yom v'yom, Mordechai would go along to this, outside this harem, so in Shoshana Bira, because he's got access to find out what's going on. He's like, what's the schmooze? All right, what's the gossip? How's she doing in there? Is she surviving? Has she been chosen yet? And this happened for an entire year, because for 1 year, right, Shnei B'Shar Chodesh, right, she has to have all this beauty stuff smeared on her. There's 1 year of prep, right, that she's stuck in this palace, right? Yemei Murakein Shisha Chadashim, V'Shemen Mor Shisha Chadashim. 6 months of anointing, 6 months of oil and myrrh and perfume, right? She's being primed for her night with the king. Okay? That's how bad it was. By the way, according to one opinion, she didn't take it. She didn't want it. She wanted to remain ugly. She wanted to remain ugly in order for Achashverosh not to like her. But she had such an inner beauty. She had such an inner beauty, a chen, that it just shone out. Some say that when it says a person is beautiful, it doesn't mean their panim is beautiful, it means their panim, her insides were beautiful. She had such a magnetic personality. When you met her, you fell in love with her. You ever meet someone like that? They're not so good looking. Then you get to know their personality, they actually become beautiful. Experience that? Or the other way around. You meet someone who's very, very good looking, a handsome man or a beautiful woman, and you get to know you look at their panim, you're impressed. And you get to know their panim, their insides, and they're ugly people, they become ugly. So it works both ways. You meet someone, you're like, wow, not so good looking. You get to know them a little bit, they become good looking. My wife says when she first married, okay, never mind. Okay, so there she is, and she's in this place with all of the chambermaids and all these women, and these women are vying, and comes along her appointment with the king after a year. And look what it says again, just so you have, she was raped. She was raped. V'tilakach Esther, says it again. She was taken against her will to the palace, and she was taken against her will to Achashverosh's chamber. There is going to be one time that she gives herself up willingly to Achashverosh. It's the only time. And she's going to do that for a very specific, it's not so simple to understand. There is one time when she volunteers herself and is not raped against her will, and that's actually going to end up the one time she gets pregnant and has a child. And we're going to meet that boy a little later on. He's going to have a very important role to play in this story at the end of the story. So hold on to that. But besides that one occasion, which I'm going to talk to you about later in future classes, up to now, she's being grabbed against her will, she's raped against her will. It's all against v'tilakach, a very important word. Okay? Just to show there's no aspersions you hold against her.
I have understood from several people that you're not supposed to enjoy what happens when you're being raped.
Right. It doesn't say she enjoyed it. She didn't enjoy it. She was miserable. She had the most miserable life.
But isn't giving yourself
One time she did it for So the time she gave herself up was to do something, to achieve something. Very important. Yeah, very good, Denai. That is not just for fun. She's doing that in order to make something happen. I can't tell you now. I don't want to ruin the surprise. It's part of the master plan. You'll see later on. It's there to persuade Achashverosh to do something. You probably guess right now. He brings her in. It's Tevet. Her year is finished. And it says in verse 17, once he has relations with her, the Ahava Melech, that he's in love. All the other women are in line. Forget about it. Not interested. I found my shidduch. Baruch Hashem. He has a vort. He has an engagement party. The entire mishpacha. I'm joking. There's no mishpacha. There's no vort. Actually, he's going to do something even worse. Well, watch this. He falls in love with her. From all the other women, she has the most chen v'chesed. He's in love with her personality. Mikola betulot. He thinks she's a Betula. She ain't. Well, she's definitely not now. V'yasem et peketa malchut. He puts the crown on her head, and she rules. Look at the verse 17, the end of verse 17. What does it say? Tachat Vashti. She's under Vashti. Instead of Vashti, she takes Vashti's place as the queen from all these women, but she's also below her. It's good for him. It ain't good for her. V'yas HaMelech Mishta Gadol. He makes a big feast for everyone. They get together. That's another reason we have the feast. Look at verse 19, and we'll finish with this idea. Something very weird. Very weird. And you've read this, I don't know how many times in your life. It says that he gathered together all the virgins a second time. What? What? You just selected Esther to be your queen. He gave her the crown, and he's off again. There he is, gathering all these women again. Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing another second pageant? This one's toe is too big. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Yeah.
Maybe to like show off that like haha, you weren't chosen.
She was chosen.
No, to everyone else.
No, he doesn't have to do that.
Okay.
I don't think he has to do that. But he's making a point. He's making a point. Not to them, but to her. Why? What does he want? That she's not, she's given everything. Her mind, her body, but he's not giving her her freedom and her origins. He's like, who are you? I can't say. Right? So he actually throws another party in order to arouse jealousy in her and to test her. That's what they say. And she still doesn't say a word. He's like, maybe you're right a little bit, actually. I shouldn't say that. Maybe a little bit was to test her loyalty and to get her jealous, right? In order to, like, okay, let's see if you really want to be my queen. Are you jealous? Are you going to go against me? He's testing her. And he says, hey, if you don't tell me you're from, I still have these other women. She's like, go right ahead. Do another beauty pageant. I don't want to be here anyway. I don't matter to you. You're a megalomaniac dictator, Meshuggah. So he does it. She doesn't care. She keeps her mouth shut. Yeah.
So Achashverosh has like a soft spot for her.
Oh, he's in love with her. He cannot get enough of her. It says v'yahav. It says he's absolutely hook, line, and sinker. He doesn't want to kill her. So what's he going to do? Torture her. But he loves her. What's he going to do instead? Make her jealous. Jealousy? Big motivator. Okay. Okay, we're going to stop over there. Next class, remind me, we're going to continue with an assassination attempt against Achashverosh's life. We will do that next class in Mitzvah Hashem. It's another topic. Have a great day.